I'm Will Ryan, the Joyful Diabetic. You might ask, how is it possible to be joyful while having diabetes? I'd like to share some of the reasons with you and offer some suggestions that would be valid for anybody with diabetes. Of course, my background over the 32 years I've had diabetes has been anything but smooth. Like many of you, I've had ups and downs and all sorts of strange things happen in my body. For the first year, the only solution for me was to just deny the whole existence. Maybe it would go away. I learned, however, that it didn't. And so eventually I woke up and started really taking care of myself. And I learned that a positive attitude is critically important to achieving self-care mastery. Somewhere about 5 or maybe even 10 years ago, I decided to call myself the Joyful Diabetic. And I've spent the last 2 or 3 years working with others who have diabetes, informing them on how they too can achieve Joyful Diabetic. Keep in mind, it's a choice. When I review my blood glucose numbers at the end of a day and they're all in range, I feel great joy. When I discover that there's some illness going on in my body because my blood sugar is unusually high, I discover that perhaps I have a cold coming on. That gives me joy because I have an early warning system. The diabetes management process is not difficult if you look at it from the highest level. What we must do as diabetics is eat the proper food, exercise regularly, take our medications, and test frequently. Sounds simple, right? Why do so many of us have a hard time, I ask? And the answer, I think, is motivation. We each must find a way to motivate ourselves to do the things that we know we must do. I like to compare my diabetes management with flying an airplane. Years ago, I had a private airplane and spent many hours flying that plane. In both cases, aviation and diabetes, your life is in your hands. In aviation, we're forced to have a logbook for FAA to see and observe. Similarly, in diabetes, keeping good records. I keep a logbook for all of my readings, blood glucose, food, etc., etc. In aviation, much of the training is devoted to how to handle the plane in the middle of emergencies. Clearly, we who have diabetes know that there'll be emergencies. I'm sure many of you have had them as well. I sure have, and my pilot training have given me the strength and the process to know what to do and how to do it. Planning in aviation is critically important so that you lay out a plan on where you intend to go. And diabetes is much the same. I have a plan which in these days calls for having a minimum number of readings outside the suggested range, and to have no readings in a given week over 200. I've yet to achieve that, but I'm getting closer. The bottom line is that we must, as diabetics, make good choices. And we know what those choices are. It's a question of developing that inner strength that motivates us to do the right thing in the moment. If we can take responsibility, ownership of our diabetes, we've got a chance of being able to live normal lives while achieving self-care mastery. I found I had to commit to a process that I've just described, and that in turn is paying huge dividends. I'm on my path of being a joyful diabetic, and I encourage all of you watching to make that choice. you too can be a joyful diabetic. Good luck.